Hello and welcome everyone to tonight's webinar. My name's Temin and I'm one of the campaign managers here at Birchal. So just before I introduce Steve and all of the wonderful things that he's doing with his company AQUAME, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land from which I'm beaming to you today. So we are on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin nation, and we pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. And today I'm joined by Steve and AQUAME. So Birchal is working with AQUAME on an upcoming equity crowdfunding offer. So you're here because you've probably expressed interest in this campaign, and you might be wondering, what is crowdsourced funding, or CSF? So crowdsourced funding, or as you may know it, equity crowdfunding, is a relatively new form of fundraising in Australia that allows startups and small businesses to raise capital from a large number of smaller or retail investors and wholesale or sophisticated investors through an online platform, that's Birchal. So instead of seeking funds from traditional sources such as banks or venture capitalists, companies can turn to the general public, often their communities, to raise funds in exchange for equity in their business. So Birchal Financial Services will be the licensed intermediary for this offer. The information and discussion in this webinar is for informational purposes only and should not be considered as advice or a recommendation to invest. So please do your own research, always consider the offer document and general CSF risk warning before investing, and more information is available over on birchal.com. Now, today's session is going to run as it follows. So Steve will take us through a great presentation that'll be approximately 15, maybe 20 minutes, all about AQUAME, where they've come from, what they're looking to do with their capital raise, and then we'll switch to a Q&A session. So if you look to the bottom of your Zoom screen, you'll see that little Q&A bubble. If you have any questions during today's session, please pop them in the box as we go through the presentation. The more questions, the better, and we will answer them during the Q&A time at the end. We are also recording today's session, so if you do have to jump off early, a recording will be sent around afterwards, and you can share that with whoever you think might be interested as well. Without further ado, I might hand over to you, Steve.
Thank you. So thank you everybody for coming to today's webinar, and obviously later on the question A. So I'd like to start by telling a little origin story about AQUAME. So the start of AQUAME was basically my goal to find a reusable water bottle in the market. So as many of you might have seen through the market, you might notice that the market is fluctuated with all types of reusable water bottle. But what I'm frustrated most is most of the bottle were just brand fancy colors, but not really usable for modern day users. So I was determined, because coming back from a tech savvy person, I was determined to make a change. So I went out my way to find a way to innovate obviously the original reusable water bottle. So what I noticed that there was a huge emerging market in the health and performance product type where you can monitor obviously health. Yet there was a vital missing piece where it was centering around hydration data. So there was no product out there that was really providing essential hydration data for your average day users and athletes. This basically led to the birth of AQUAME. So like I've said, it's not just for athletes, but it was for everyday users. It was fulfilling a void with obviously the personal hydration insights. There was also a decision to create AQUAME 2.0, which was a much more advanced second generation smarter water bottle that was marrying technology and hydration needs for, again, your average day users and athletes. This is, like I said, this is more than a journey. It's actually a movement which defines hydration, health, and performance, empowering individuals like you and me and all other people around the world. So what are the problems? So the most common problems in this market with obviously reusable water bottles or smart water bottles, it's dominated by big brands selling a very high price point, but was offering very little usability. Like I mentioned before, most of the reusable water bottles out there were just fancy colors, simple installation water bottles that could offer very little tech-based compatibility or usability for your average day customers. The high cost was also a big factor in the problems in the market. So there was a few smart water bottle companies out there they were selling at very hefty price tags. And obviously, again, very basic technology and very limited use for your average day use, and there was no commercial value in it. A lot of the smart water bottle out there in the market was also missing the key factor of hydration data, which is essential. So it provided very little base where you can work on the plants, and obviously with your hydration, very little technology that could support the commercial use of hydration data. So the opportunity that provides in this market, obviously, like I mentioned before, the sport industries. So there's a lot and huge commercial value or commercial potential for the product. It will be a game-changing opportunity for sporting clubs to enhance this player performance by incorporating personalized hydration insight into their existing data-driven strategy. So with all the major sporting clubs, they all have a database which basically tracks players or athletes' data of them. For example, where they run, how often they've run, the average speed, but there was very little data in obviously hydration. That's one of the opportunities that could be obviously implemented in a lot of the major sport industry and sporting club. And going back to your average day consumers, there's a huge market demand for a product that's data driven and obviously offer a personalized feature. So there's no product or no reusable or smart water bottle out there that basically personalized for an average consumer. It has no obviously data points that could actually allow consumer to personalize it to how it fits their daily needs. And the opportunity obviously with our product, obviously the audience, is we cater for everybody, all age, all gender groups, and all interests. A few of the customers that we found existing customer were obviously the health and wellness group, parents buying for the kids, people who suffer kidney disease, and obviously in athletes and major sporting clubs. So this is a little business overview. So AQUAME started basically back in early 2020. So we had a pre-launch in December, and the product was in customers' hands by March. Ever since the product was live and obviously reached all our consumers' hands, we had a steady growth of 15% monthly growth in sales. So as you can see, we had a huge spike in July, which was more than 15%. It was due to the business opening up its B2B market. So what I meant by B2B is obviously we're offering wholesale and co-branding to major gyms, Pilates studios, fitness centers, and recovery centers. So some of the milestones we've hit so far were we've sold 1,000 bottles alone in the month of July, which was combined of B2C and B2B. And currently in August, we're still hitting that milestone. And the second milestone, which we hit, where we've partnered and obviously collaborated with 100 plus gyms, and it's still growing across Australia. And in our retail market, which is a B2B, which we opened up, we were actually approached by a pharmacy group called Mr. Vitamin, which was based in Sydney. They have 6 major stores located in Sydney, and they've approached us to offer to wholesale our product and obviously sell our product, in all their retail stores. So this is a little bit about the growth story, where we have started and where we're going now. So during the launch of AQUAME, our first major collaboration with Crunch Fitness, they have over 40 plus gyms across Australia. They are also a global brand. So we've collaborated with them, and obviously we moved down to obviously the wholesale and the co-branding, and they're very happy with our product. And when they first approached us, they were amazed that such product do exist in the market, and they're very happy with the price point as well. So later on, we were approached by, again, Pilates Republic, a major Pilates studio and located in Melbourne. They've got 6 stores within Melbourne. Again, like I mentioned before, the product caters for all gender groups. So we have a large female-based audience and large-based female consumer group as well. So they're all really happy with how the product operates, and they were amazed at the price point as well. And we move on, we collaborated again a few months ago with F45. A lot of the F45 franchises within Melbourne came on board, and we're happy because we offered a co-branding service. Again, they were happy with our price point, and we had a huge growth of B2B market through F45. Again, Revo Training, which we finished our first collaboration with them. So they came on board to start off with a collaboration with giveaways, and we're slowly moving to obviously the merchandising. That's still in talks, so which is likely to seal off that plan, which basically they'll be selling our bottles with co-branding Revo Training logos on the bottle across all stores in Australia. They've got roughly about 20 stores in Australia, and they've got studios in Singapore, Dubai, and USA. So the most exciting part of the growth story is obviously two A-League stars. One was Archie Thompson, an ex-A-League soccer player, Socceroo and Melbourne Victory legend, who came on board as obviously as a shareholder, a director and a brand ambassador. Also, Andrew Naboot, who is a Socceroo and a current Melbourne City player. So them two coming on board sort of create a great recognition for the brand, or credibility for the brand as well. They've also contributed a lot with their knowledge based on them being athletes on what sort of hydration plan and what sort of hydration data is needed. So they've helped quite a lot with inputting what sort of system we need in our app. And moving on, we were exposed on 7 News as of 2 weeks ago on how great our product is and what sort of great invention that's came on board. And again, it aligns with the whole health and wellness, how people are very, obviously people depend on the human instinct to get a drink, which is when they feel thirsty. But by then, you've already reached dehydration level. So again, that was featured on the news article about how we could help people to hydrate before they reach dehydration level. And obviously the competitive edge and what's being offered in the market already and what we could offer, which is something different. So as you can see, in the current market, most of the reusable water bottle or smart water bottle are based on some of the key features. What they have is fancy color. They offer a range of color to attract different age, different gender group, or different audience. They all offer insulation bottle, which basically keeps water hot and cold for a period of time. They also offer monogram, which basically you can laser engrave or print your initial on the bottle. And another bottle, which is the Philips Smart Water Bottle, which only offers a UV sanitizer. So it sanitizes the bottle for you. So how are we different comparing to our competitors and what we could offer, which is something different? So first, we offer a water intake tracking system, both on the bottle and in the app. So the bottle itself, for the AQUAME 2.0, has a display which displays a clock system, a liter drunk from the bottle, which is an intake tracking system, a temperature gauge, which tells you the temperature within the bottle, and also it has UV sanitize function, which by clicking the LCD screen on the bottle, it provides a 60-second sanitizing, so it kills all the germs within the bottle. Because usually inside a water bottle, after 6 hours, water usually starts building up germs. And by offering that sanitize function, it sort of kills off any 99.9% germs, which provides a better health awareness for you. So we also offer insulation, cold and hot. What makes us different is we offer a hydration goal. So it sort of encourages people to drink more. So an average day user can set how much they want to drink on a daily basis. As they drink from the bottle, that information is updated from the bottle and goes funneled into the app. So you can see how far you have gone or how far you have reached in your goal as of today. So that goal resets every 24 hours, that percentage resets every 24 hours. So again, in the app, it has a stroke function, which tells you how many days you hit that 100%. It's a bit of like a bragging rights to tell people, I've reached my goal 10 times this week, or 10 times in the past 10 days. You know, it also creates a bit of competition, a fun between friends. You know, it creates encouragement for you to drink more. So our bottle also gives you a hydration data. What that means is all your hydration patterns, when you've drunk some water from the bottle, or when or how much you've drunk from the bottle, is all kept within the app. So that data is also very useful for both commercial and obviously in the retail everyday consumer. We also offer the UV sanitize function, which is both on the bottle and on the app. So like I mentioned before, on the bottle, you can click the screen, it will sanitize the bottle, a 60-second sanitize. On the app, it allows an automatic sanitization. So you can obviously automatically set, for example, every 6 hours or every 8 hours for the bottle to automatically sanitize for you. Without, obviously, some people do tend to forget, but so that little feature is very helpful. We also, the app also provides a post and pre-workout recovery plan. So what that means is the app will read your pattern, and basically by entering your weight and your exercise hours throughout the day, it will automatically calculate how much you need to drink before your workout, which makes sure that you are well hydrated during your workout. After workout, it also gives you a pre-workout recovery plan of how much you need to drink to reach a certain amount of recovery. So that's all very unique, and that's one of the kind in the current market. The other thing we're offering for our product is obviously a very affordable price point. So the AQUAME 1.0 at the moment is selling at $74.95, which is the price you actually pay for a normal reusable water bottle from some of the bigger brands. But we're offering a huge additional features. The AQUAME 2.0 is currently on pre-sale at $89.95, and it's going to be released to customers' hands in mid-October. Again, a very attractive price point. You're not paying a huge amount of price for high-end technology. It's very affordable for your average day consumers and obviously commercial wise. Again, going back to the commercial opportunities, this could be again implemented into a lot of the major sporting clubs, like I mentioned before. I like to say that the whole hydration plan, it's a bit like the F1s. So the F1 cars don't go out in full petrol tanks. They go out and set an amount of petrol to ensure that they reach a certain amount of goals and they come back for different pit stop times. It's very strategic. It's same with hydration plan. Going back to the commercial opportunities, major sporting clubs could use this hydration data and could implement a personalized hydration plan for each player to ensure that they actually stay hydrated throughout the game, rather than when they feel thirsty, they go off the field and take a drink. By that time, they've already lost that peak performance. So what will we use the funds we raise for? So the majority of funds will be used to market brand awareness within Australia. So what we're finding the biggest problem at the moment is not that people are not buying the product, it's people are not aware that such technology exists in the market. So by raising a strong fund to implement in the next 1 or 2 years to pump out that correct marketing within the Australian market, to have that strong foothold within the Australian market, we believe that the sales will grow dramatically. The funds will also use for product development. So we've in-house built AQUAME 2.0 app. And obviously, as the years goes by and more technology advances, we're able to upgrade extra features, extra functions within the app to allow obviously extra benefit for your average day user and obviously extra functions for commercial users. The funds will also be used in inventory expansion. So currently, both AQUAME 1.0 and AQUAME 2.0 has only 3 color ranges. We'd like to expand it to a bigger color range, catering for an all range of customers. Also, the funds will be used in sport sponsorship or other sponsorship in the sport industry, for example, AFL, tennis, cricket, and NRL. So these are the 4 major sports within the Australian market. By tapping into that market, it creates a very big credibility, also a very big exposure into your average day user. So some of the foreseen development which currently is happening within AQUAME is with Andrew and obviously Archie on board, we're able to establish quite a few potential sponsorship and obviously quite potential wholesale deals. So with Melbourne City, we're working with a deal, obviously with Andrew, who's currently a player in Melbourne City. We're working with deal sponsorship, basically sponsoring AQUAME 2.0 bottles to all the senior players and staff members. Again, Melbourne City are very excited. They're happy with the technology. and they're very data driven, and that's why they're happy with AQUAME 2.0, because it's a very data driven and open API, which allows them to funnel that data into their existing database, which also combines and connects with the current data system. So that's storing cards. Also with Wizard Pharmacy, Rebel Sport, Ultra Football, JB Hi-Fi, and Officeworks, we've established initial contact, and they were all very amazed with the product, and they were all very happy in that such a product actually exists. And what's next stage is waiting for that final production of product, and which is happening in mid-October. So we'll be establishing the next contact by showing them the physical product and obviously with the packaging, and we're moving forward. So that wraps up the presentation, and we'll move on to the Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Steve, for such a great presentation. As you just mentioned, we'll now be moving on to the Q&A session. So for those joining us tonight, please jump into that Q&A box down the bottom and start asking Steve some of your burning questions, as I know you've got them handy. To kick us off, Steve, I might just ask, what are your hydration goals during the day, and what's your daily streak on the app?
So I've got the test demo of AQUAME 2.0. So I reach my goals 100% every day. So I usually don't drink as much. I used to tend to forget because I sit in front of a computer all the time. You rely on your basic human instinct of getting a drink based on when you feel thirsty. Like I said, mentioned, by that time you've already caused quite a bit of harm to your body, and
Okay.
it's a bit late to have a drink. So I set reminders, and obviously, like I said, the AQUAME 2.0 has that manual reminder function, but also has an AI which reminds it for you by looking at your drinking patterns. So when it picks up that you haven't been drinking for a period of time, it actually alerts you to obviously have a drink, and obviously you'll notice, look, you haven't drank for a period of time, you're semi-dehydrated, or you haven't drank for a long period of time, you're dehydrated, quickly have a drink. So the system obviously reminds you. So it's a great little, I could say, is a hydration coach, a personalized hydration coach for you.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you do certainly get bragging rights for that. Obviously, this is really fantastic technology, especially in our tech-driven world where we are constantly on our phones and on our watches and constantly looking at screens. I'm keen to understand what kind of trademarks and patents you have in place to protect this technology.
Sure. So the AQUAME trademark has been successfully applied and granted by IP Australia. So once the final stage of testing complete for the AQUAME 2.0, we'll be applying application patent for the app, basically the matrix, the algorithm behind the app itself, which will be patent. So they'll be expecting a few patents going on for the application.
Awesome, thank you. And how will you, obviously, this is quite different to others, on the market that you've described. How will you continue to maintain this point of difference over your competitors? So how will you continue to update your product? Will you be releasing new products? Can you give us a bit of an explanation?
Sure. We do have obviously plans of a few larger bottles. So at the moment, the bottle is sitting at about 630 ml. So some of the feedbacks from consumers were they require a bigger bottle. So we're looking down the track a 1 litre bottle. Obviously more color as well. We're also working on a few other smart bottle, but we like to keep that a secret at the moment.
Of course.
But also, like you said, there will be plenty of upgrade coming along, especially when you're working with a major sporting industry and sporting club. There will always be feedbacks from obviously the professional athletes on what they need. And obviously, like I've said, the app is in-house built. We have full control of it. We'll be always updating, upgrading for obviously the retail and the commercial side as well.
So it sounds like feedback from your stockists and from those using your bottles is very much at the forefront to you. Do you actively seek feedback on your products and then integrate that into development of new features?
Yes. So one of the features on the new AQUAME 2.0 bottle is a digital clock. So it's one of the most common requests, surprisingly, one of the most common requests by customers. So you might think it's just a clock. We have watches, we have smartphones that we carry along with us. The funny thing is, when you have the clock on the bottle, now I have the clock on that smart AQUAME 2.0. I actually use that bottle as a time clock. is more often than my phone and my watch. So, for example, if you're going for a run and then sometimes you don't carry your phone, having that clock on the bottle is quite helpful. So it's like a second backup alternative to your time source.
Oh, definitely. I guess another question on the back of that, obviously when people are running or doing any kind of exercise, especially in that kind of elite athlete environment, often they'll have like smart watches, like the Apple Watch or the Garmin. Are there plans to integrate with some major fitness watches apps like this?
Yes, obviously there is a plan to obviously connect with those major brands, but again, it goes down to the capitals that we raise because by linking to the third party, you need to buy licensing, and obviously those licensing are cheap. So our technology, like I mentioned before, the whole AQUAME 2.0, it's unique. There's nothing in the market for, especially the commercial side of it. So I can see it. It's very welcoming for the obviously major brand to collaborate with us and obviously connect with them.
Yeah, of course. Oh, that's great. So right now, where can people find your products if they're just wanting to purchase one for themselves?
So you can purchase the AQUAME both 1.0 and 2.0 on aquame.co, which is our official website. So the AQUAME 2.0 is on pre-sale, again, on pre-sale at the moment, and it's going to be launched in customers in mid-October. You can also purchase AQUAME in one of our first retail store, which is from Mr. Vitamin. There are 6 stores in Sydney. There's far more than Brookville, Chatswood, Bondi, Parramatta, and I think a few more in Chatswood as well. So they're spread out in some of the major suburbs in Sydney. So they're the first retailers that came on board. But again, like I've said before, we're negotiating with a huge amount of major retailers due to obviously Archie and Andrew came on board. That created a big credibility. And after showing AQUAME 2.0, they were amazed because no product, obviously, first the price point, and secondly the technology behind it. No product in the market could actually compete or offer anything that AQUAME could offer.
Wow. So speaking of that, are there plans to expand outside of Australia? Obviously, capital dependent, but in an ideal world, what are some kind of key markets that you'd like to expand into?
So obviously, we'd like to have a strong foothold in the Australian market before we move abroad. That's one of the main purposes, like I mentioned in the capital raise, to set up a very strong marketing fund to obviously boost that brand awareness in the Australian market for the next 1 or 2 years. And obviously, the US market, the UK market, and obviously, especially the Middle East market is huge. It's just dramatic. If we can tap into those markets, the growth is potentially endless.
Okay, but foothold in Australia first and then broader.
Yes.
Understood. And do you see the biggest strategy coming from B2B or B2C? Obviously, sorry, go on.
Both. So like I've said at the very beginning, we were very focused on B2C. As we move, we as we move and obviously open up B2B, we found that the market is dramatically bigger. So obviously, we think that B2B also piggybacks that B2C because by offering the product in obviously all the major gyms, all the major fitness centers, and all the major retailers, it creates a much more big exposure. People can see it more, know more, and gets a hands-on. Because with this product, it's more of a hands-on. You feel it, touch it, use it. It becomes very addictive. That's how I see it.
No, definitely. So obviously, right now, the focus seems to be quite strong within like the fitness industry. You did briefly mention about kind of the health industry for those with some potential health implications where they are required to drink a certain level of water intake. Do you see any other market opportunities that might be suited to this product?
So originally, when we first released the product, we thought it would be very health awareness targeted audience. But we noticed it's actually, like I mentioned, it's catered for all age group and all gender group. So we've got a huge amount of parents, surprisingly, buying for their kids.
Really?
So I've kids myself. When we used to send kids to school with a full bottle of water, they come back with a full bottle of water. But ever since parents buying it for their kids, it's created a very fun and engaging way for the kids to drink more water. So the parents were so you might say, look, the kids are coming back home and having competition with them on who have drank more throughout the day. So it creates a connection for the kids and parents. It also creates a sort of fun activity encouragement for them to drink more water. So, in the other market we've tapped in a lot is obviously the fitness and health wellness education. So we've been speaking with a few big education departments, education institutes that focuses on obviously the personal trainer, PT trainings, and obviously the dietitians and nutritionists. We believe that to educate the customer in the correct way based on hydration is probably a good start on telling them that such technology exists and how this technology could help them achieve those certain amount of goals.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Nothing like a bit of healthy competition to get kids on.
Right.
We have a question here. Obviously, you have plans, when 2.0 comes out to apply for the patent. But do you have any thoughts on, currently the competition potentially taking your idea and producing it at a cheaper, more competitive rate?
We believe we're selling at a very cheap, but also very profitable price margin. So our profit based on per bottle is sitting at 85% gross profit margin per bottle. So we believe that's still a very huge gross profit margin, especially when you're working with B2B. That's a very good, healthy profit margin, gross profit margin to work with B2B. In terms of bigger company coming in to steal the technology, no. So the biggest I like to say is the bottle itself is 30% of the business, where 70% of the business is really the app, because the app itself helps both commercial and your everyday user. So by patenting those applications, those matrix algorithms behind it, is sort of making us very unique in a very strong position to continue on and making upgrades. Like I said, the bottle itself, the hardware exists in the market, the tracking exists in the market, the UV sanitizer exists in the market, but there's really nothing that combines all this technology into one, which we are doing, especially with, like I said, with the app as well.
Yeah. And do you have the right team in place to continue developing this and keep your competitive advantage?
Oh yes. So we've got an in-house app developer. I myself is a programmer as well, so coming from an IT background, and we've also got a contractor. So we have the right team, but we don't like to expand our team, having people that are there only for certain projects. So when we have people that are in there for a certain type of project or a certain type of task, they're usually contractors who are hired for that particular time. So that's why we're able to keep the costs at a very minimum, and obviously that's why we're able to produce the product at a very affordable price point.
Yeah, fantastic. So are there plans, another question here, to move to a subscription type service for the bottle and app? And I guess to expand on that, on the app, is the app currently free to use, and will you be incorporating any kind of premium content that would come at a cost?
Yes. So the app currently is free to use, but later on we move on. Yes, there are consideration of having a subscription, especially with commercial players. So, for example, a commercial version for the major sporting clubs, which we could obviously have a subscription fee for the major, and that again, that potential is huge with the sporting club who are obviously rich in funds and rich in cash. They are more than willing to pay for that type of subscription because again, like I've said, it's a very unique product. Especially there's no real personalized hydration plan out there for data, as far as I'm aware. I spoke to Andrew, who's again currently playing for Melbourne City. He says the current hydration plan that are in place are what was set up 10, 20 years ago, where they weigh the player before the game and they weigh the player again after the game, and that basically tell them, look, that's how much liquid you've lost. You should drink up. So there's no personalized hydration data for the player, especially at elite athlete level. So that's very, I can't say that's very sad, but that's a big missing void in the market, which we are exploiting at the moment.
And is that something that you're passionate about in elevating the education around hydration and ensuring that we can move forward with the current resources that are available?
So I'm always very passionate about tech, and obviously I'm a very data-driven person, and obviously I'm a big A-League fan, so obviously a sport-driven person as well. And I've always seen that, like I've said, we're living in a data age, so data is gold. So moving forward, technology and obviously performance combined together. And if you see about it, athletes are performing and competing at a very similar level. For them to compete and obviously have that competitive edge, this is the sort of obviously product or sort of performance enhanced product that could help them obviously overcome their opponents.
Yeah, of course. No, that makes a lot of sense. Another question here. What inspired you to raise funds through equity crowdfunding?
So again, we spent a lot of time and funding on research and developing AQUAME 2.0. So the company is currently very profitable. Like I said, the biggest two costs were obviously the research and development on AQUAME 2.0 and advertising, which is creating the brand awareness. So our advertising fees have been steady, not growing, but at the same level throughout the month. But we're seeing the sales grow again, 15%. Again, in July, it was over 50% growth. So the fees, the advertising, everything is quite steady, but obviously the research and development drained quite a bit of our fund. So the main reason why we choose obviously CSF crowdfunding instead of an angel investor is because I found that going through crowdfunding, obviously one, exposed the brand to the general public. Two, also we actually had to meet quite a few investors. So I've been on the phone speaking to quite a few investors, and most of them, the first thing they say is, apart from contributing fund, obviously helping raise capital for this AQUAME project, they're also able to contribute their connections. So a few of the people I spoke to a few days ago, they work in the sport performance industry. So they've got connections with Olympians, major athletes, as NRL, AFL cricketers. So they're very happy to obviously contribute funds, also contribute their connection to help the company grow. So, like I said, the benefit of this race is not just capital raising, but also connection. We're able to gain a lot of connections and a lot of important investors who actually wouldn't happy to jump on board and help the business grow with using their connection, using their experience.
Fantastic. I'm so glad to hear that. We have just one or two more questions here for you. Regarding the bottle itself, what is the typical life cycle of a bottle? How often do you have to charge it? How long do people usually keep them for? Tell me a bit about that.
So one of the biggest challenges in smart water bottle obviously is the battery life, and obviously, like I said, the usage. So the AQUAME 2.0, it's set at a 15-day charge. So one full charge takes about 3 hours, which will give you a maximum of up to 15 days of usage.
Wow.
The lifespan on these bottles are 500 charges, up to 500 charges.
Yeah.
So give or take, they last 10 years or up. So
wow. Hey, that's fantastic.
Again, they're very environment friendly. They're made with obviously BBA free, stainless food grade stainless steel, and with a usage of 10 years plus. And again, like I mentioned, again, the app is 70% of the bottle, so the app will always be upgraded, and obviously you won't be stuck with the feature you've bought a year ago. There will be always new features popping up.
Yeah, of course. Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Steve. We might wrap it up there.